morning to all Federation starships in the Alpha, Beta, Gamma, and Delta quadrants. This is your host, Mr. Josh Pritchett of the Northern Virginia Star Trek Meetup Group, and also the author of Bigfoot and Other Tales of the Supernatural. And this is the final Engaging with PICARD, in which we will do a retrospective of the 3 seasons that made up this interesting series. And I am joined today not by my usual partner in crime, but with a really dear friend of mine who I'm really glad is taking time out of his very busy schedule. He is the host of Multiverse Maniacs on Spotify podcasts, and he is a contributing writer to Collider magazine. Please welcome Mr. Harry Wilkinson.
Hey, everybody. Live long and prosper.
Good afternoon. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Harry. How are you doing today?
All right.
We're still 5 minutes. Yeah.
Got my Star Trek mug with me.
Yep. I'm wearing my Picard and Worf t-shirt. So to commemorate the final day of this final episode of Engaging with Picard.
Mm-hmm.
And just to let y'all know, though, this is not the end of our Star Trek review shows. We still got a ton of Star Trek out there, and me and Chris Pabone will be back in June for Strange New Worlds, and then Lower Decks and Prodigy, and other shows to follow. Oh, and hey, our friend Michael P has just checked in, and he has said the series finale was awesome. Yes, I wholeheartedly agree. It was awesome. Thank you, Michael, for writing in. And watching us today on the Movers and Shakers Unlimited Network. Harry, what did you feel about the season finale before we get started?
I thought it was okay. I mean, I know that I'm not a really big Next Gen fan, but I know that for my Next Gen friends, it had to be wonderful to see them all together. They did that little poker scene at the end, which I think everybody really enjoyed. So, you know, lots of memories and sentimentality. So I think on that level, it worked really well. I found some of the plot lines to be confusing, and how the Borg and changelings would work together kind of was confusing for me. But you know, all in all, they did a good job of kind of bringing back the old crew. They've kind of gotten a short shrift in all of the reboots and new shows. They haven't, had much to do. So again, for my Next Gen friends, I'm sure it was a wonderful experience.
Well, for me personally, it was. And Michael's just written in # Star Trek Legacy. And don't worry, Michael, we are going to be talking about that before we get to the end here. So without further ado, we are going to do a final good, the bad, and the Gorn to look back over the 3 seasons of this extraordinary TV series. And and just talk about something that, we never thought was going to happen 5 years ago. Well, 6 years ago, actually. And, the announcement at Star Trek Las Vegas by Patrick Stewart that he was coming back to play Picard in a series again. So for me, I'm just going to start this off. What I thought was best about this show was this past season. Season 3 was the moneymaker, as far as I'm concerned. We finally got the finale to the Next Generation crew that we never got in the movies. At least we never got a finale that had the gravitas that Star Trek VI: The Undiscovered Country gave the original series. It just felt like they were just sort of tag on. Well, except for First Contact. The other ones just kind of felt like they were tag-ons to the original Next Generation series. But this one, everybody coming back together for one big adventure to save the Federation once again was definitely something there. So, Harry, what do
Hmm?
you start off? What do you thought was best?
I thought Amanda Plummer's Vatic was one of the best villains I had ever seen. I love her anyway, and she was just she just brought it. She was great, and I liked the the captain. I've forgotten his name now, but he's the one that gets
Shaw.
7 of 9 promoted.
Yeah, Captain Shaw and
Shaw, that's it.
yes, Ian Shaw, and
Yeah,
yeah, we're going to talk a little bit more about him. Yeah, he was definitely one of my favorite parts of season 3. You start out thinking, I don't really like this guy. And then by episode 7, it's like, if you kill this guy, we're suing Paramount. Well, unfortunately, they did kill him, but I don't think we're going to sue Paramount over that. But yeah, I think he brought such a gravitas to this season, and he was just so good. And I've talked a lot about this year about Captain Shaw and how he kind of grew on us as a character and became such a favorite with the fans so quickly because of that he wasn't kissing up to Picard and Riker. He was his own guy. He had some grudges, and he was not afraid to share them. And in the end, the guy just, when you realize, yeah, he was just a curmudgeon in the tradition of Bones McCoy, that, that's what he was. And, because he had a lot of bad things happen to him, but he still had, I think, a lot of hope that something good was on the horizon. And I think he ultimately realized that good was 7 of 9. So, so we are, I'm sorry his character got killed off. It would have been nice to, I think him coming back for Star Trek Legacy would have been a real selling point. But, we're going to talk a little bit more about Legacy later on in the show in the Gorn section, I think. Another thing I thought was good, and I'm going to reach back. Yeah, Michael P. writes in again. He was a great foil. Yes, most definitely he was. He was excellent to have on the show. Was the advent of all the new characters that we had in the first 2 seasons. And I would have liked to have seen more done with them. It's just that, unfortunately, I think we kind of got short shrift there by a lot of the events that took place in season 2, which we will talk about in more detail. But it would have been nice if we could have had Elnor or Daj or, any of those other characters, or Soji. Sorry, I keep thinking you're Daj. That was her character's name in the first episode, but she became Soji in the second episode. If you don't know what I'm talking about, folks, please go back and watch season 1 of Picard. But obviously, I guess the actress decided to, I don't know if the actress decided not to come back for season 3, had other options, or didn't think that they were going to do much with her character. I really don't know how that sort of thing works. Harry, did you hear anything about that?
No. With this show, they have each season they've done a lot of changes with the characters and. Okay, Chris.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, there was no season 2, and just like there was no Star Trek 5 or Godfather 3. There was no such thing. It was all a bad hallucination.
All a dream.
Yes. Yeah, it skipped from season 1 to season 3. It was something to do with the pandemic. We don't know. We just, that's fine. Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
So yeah, I have not heard anything about whether they wanted her to return or not. I think they just probably wrote the character out more than likely, because each season they have done all of these different changes. If you remember, season 1 wasn't particularly well received. So I think they went into doing a lot of retooling for season 2, which doesn't exist. Okay, but in the dream world, where we did have a season 2, they tried to retool it a lot.
Yeah, well, okay. Overall, I'm gonna say this as part of the good. I like the first 7 episodes of season 1. I thought they were a really good launching point. But I can point to the point where I think the show took a weird turn was when they get to the android home planet and they get Soji back there and they find Noonien Sung's biological son, and all these more human looking androids. I keep wanting to call them Cylons, but they're not Cylons, obviously. And Picard makes this big speech how he's going to go to the Federation Council. He's going to defend their rights. And then Sung Jr. shoots him down, and they talk about calling what I call Cyber Cthulhu, the intergalactic cybernetic octopus monster. That's where it really went off the rails, I thought. And then everything was like trying to get caught back up. So I think it was like that was not a good. I would have preferred they would have stuck with something where it was like, okay, we didn't really answer what happened to the Romulan Homestar. Did somebody blow that up? Because it doesn't sound like it was a natural occurrence, that something happened there. And they didn't follow up with that. And I thought that was going to be part of what was going to happen over the next 4 seasons of Picard, because there were originally going to be 5 seasons. But because we lost 2 years due to the pandemic, and because of the schedule Patrick Stewart had, what he wanted to accomplish and when he wanted to accomplish it, they just kind of cut it back to 3 seasons, because that's all they could do. And honestly, I wish we could have just kept. And I'll get into this in the next section. If we could have just kept aspects that I thought were good about season 1, and then just did season 3, we would have, I think we'd have been better off. But I think season 3 definitely made it for any other mistakes that I think they made, looking back. Harry, what else did you think was good about the series?
Good about the series. I liked, as I said, I really liked Amanda Plummer's Vadic. I thought that was terrific. I liked, I really liked Dr. Girardi as a character. And I liked that storyline, but that kind of didn't continue on into season 3. What else did I like a lot about Picard? Oh yeah, whatever happened to Laris?
Yeah,
she just kind of disappeared.
I liked her character a lot, especially I really liked her a lot, and I feel like, okay, what happened to her? Is she still sitting in that bar waiting for Jean-Luc to show up?
Back. He should have been here.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it would have been nice if Lars could have been on the shuttlecraft, and it's like, okay, Jean-Luc and Beverly are like, okay, we're co-parenting our now adult son, and Picard, though, is married to Lars, and Lars is his Romulan stepmom, who's now going to keep him in line. Because let's face it, Romulan stepmoms are real good at keeping their kids in line. If anyone could, it's a Romulan. I mean, yeah, no, I think that was absolutely, yeah. I thought, I know that they were kind of pressed for time towards the end, and maybe they thought about something there. I think a lot of people were expecting a scene where Jean-Luc was going to show up at that bar, and Lars would be there, and that would, but no, I think the way it ended with them back in 10 forward, and playing the poker game one last time together.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the way it should have ended. It's the way all good things ended. And this is, I mean, if you're calling back to everything, all things Next Generation, you bring back the Enterprise D, you bring back this crew, you had to end it with the poker game, because the poker game was such an integral part of TNG culture. It's something we never saw again on Voyager. We didn't see it on Deep Space Nine. I mean, Deep Space Nine had baseball and nights at Vic's place. That was more their thing. Or sometimes the occasional Dabo game, but that's not poker. And Voyager, of course, had, adventures with what was, God, I'm blanking on his name now. Tom Paris's holographic character that he liked to play. Captain Base or something.
I don't remember that one myself.
Yeah, and he'd be getting people to come play. So this was PICARD. This was the Next Generation's thing, the poker games.
Yeah.
So,
well, I think the series, in general, it's sort of notorious for leaving a lot of things unresolved. Like we don't exactly know what's going on with the changelings now. The Borg are supposed to be destroyed, but if you remember in season 2, Dr. Girardi merged with the Borg Queen, and they started a sort of a benevolent faction of the Borg. So where are they? Why weren't they involved in helping them defeat?
Remember, season 2 didn't happen.
I forgot.
Yeah. Well, okay. Chris just chimed in. The name of the character we're thinking of is Captain Proton. And he also asked, was the finale too heavy on nostalgia, or was the nostalgia needed to close the series? I'm going to go with the latter.
I think if you're a Next Gen fan, it was just right. I think if you weren't a Next Gen fan, it was maybe a little too heavy on that.
I think it was just right. I'm gonna say I'm in the Goldilocks zone here. That was just right for me. It would have also been nice to have had Whoopi Goldberg come back and be at the bar with them. But at any rate, we're gonna move past that, and I think we should just get into the bad. And unfortunately, we do have a few things that I think we just now listed, like, okay, the point when they got into the Cyber Cthulhu thing in season 1 and the heretofore imaginary fever dream that was season 2 that does not exist anymore. I think, let me back up for a second. Anybody watching this who did like season 2, it's fine. If you liked it, we didn't like it so much, but we respect your opinion. So it's okay if you liked it, but just be aware we didn't. We thought it could have been better. That whole thing was a hot mess. They didn't think that through. I think it was like, how do we get all these characters in there? And I'm personally just sick of the evil universe stuff in Star Trek. I've had enough. I mean, I'm looking forward to Section 31 and the return of Philippa Georgia. But as far as going into the Mirror Dark Universe stuff, even though Mirror and the Dark Universe stuff they did on Deep Space Nine are some of my favorite episodes, and obviously, of course, through a Mirror Darkly on Enterprise, I enjoyed those a lot. But I don't need any more evil universe stuff. Harry?
Yeah, I mean, they do, and I one of the bad things about PICARD is that they do tend to rely on tropes a little too much. I mean, all 3 seasons, I think, opened with the Obi-Wan Kenobi trope, where a message is sent across the galaxy to ask Jean-Luc for help because he's the only one who can take care of this. And help me, Obi-Wan, you're my only hope, kind of thing. They opened season 3 with it. They opened season 2 with it. And I believe, if my memory serves, they opened season 1 with it. I mean, like, how many times are you going to do this?
Well, I mean, I think to be fair on that one, he is the star of the show. And it has been the thing is, this need to call him back. And I mean, maybe if like this had been one big mini series, just instead of it being a 5-year planned out 3 to 5 year thing, and it was just one big, okay, we're bringing the band back together for season 3, that would, that would have been better. Yeah, that would have worked fine. But yeah, I can kind of see your point. Like season 1 is about Dodge and Soji trying to reach out to Jean-Luc because, they're trying to figure out what's going on here, and somebody's been messing with them. And for some reason, they know they have to reach out to this elderly Starfleet admiral. Then season 2 is Q reaching out to Picard to say, hey, I'm dying. I'm going to send you to this parallel universe that you have to go back in time and prevent. And then 3, of course, is Beverly sending out a distress message to Jean-Luc, using this old coded thing they developed on Next Generation. Yeah, I could kind of get that, but I think that's really, it's kind of like with Batman, the old Batman show. The whole show started out, okay, the Joker does something bad. Commissioner Gordon calls Batman because Gotham PD is incompetent. So, yeah. So, but I see your point. It is something that would have been easier. They could have found some other way rather than, I think what you're saying is you would rather, okay, instead of somebody calling up Picard and say, hey, come help us, there have been another way to introduce each season.
Absolutely.
Right?
That's right. It's just lazy writing. That's what I think. They could. There's a number of different ways they could have brought him back in and got him in the action, but to rely on the same theme over and over again, it's just kind of, to my mind, kind of lazy writing.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that if anything else is bad, I really can't, like I said, this is the one bad thing. This one irked me, was it seemed like we really started out with an interesting cast of characters to join Picard in the first season, and I felt like, okay, like Chris and Girardi and Michael just wrote in, he agrees with you about the lazy writing. And I kind of, yeah, that is pretty lazy. And then, but all these other characters just, for Chris to get written out at the end of season 2 like that. Oh, I'm just staying here in the 21st century. I didn't like that. I thought that was, no. I would have liked to seen all of the characters kind of, see if we could meld them with the Next Generation crew.
Exactly.
And maybe if we'd had 2 more seasons in there where we could have seen Chris's character develop more, and, because, you go right from the end of season 1, and then we had the pandemic, and then we come back and, oh, he's captain of the Stargazer A or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And, okay, what happened there? Did Picard pull some strings? What was going on? It would have been nice, a little bit more information there would have been good. And also, there's just they did drop the ball in that fevered nightmare we call season 2. So, which we from now on, let's just not talk about season 2. It's the Bruno season. We don't talk about that.
Well, I'm going to say something that might be objectionable to some, but I felt that there's Terry Matalas spending so much time to set up this whole spin-off thing for Legacy that may never happen. It is a waste of time. It's kind of like the Zack Snyder of Star Trek,
I'm gonna have to disagree with you there, buddy. Which I think is gonna bring us into the Gorn, as promised, Michael and Chris and everybody. We are now going to talk a little bit, I think, about the future of Star Trek and Star Trek Legacy. And right now, and Michael is giving us a lot of laughing emojis right now. So thank you, Michael. Honestly, they went through this whole thing after the episode debuted a little over almost 2 weeks ago, and a week and a half ago, actually. And they say, well, we're not actually planning on this. And then suddenly the internet lights up with petitions and demands and hashtags and everybody wanting this. And so then suddenly this weekend, it's like, well, the fan response is even larger than it was for Strange New Worlds. So possibly, and of course, you do have that not too subtle hint when Jack says at the end, it says in the finale, when he looks over at Seven and trying to decide what her catchphrase should be to make the ship, go to warp. And it said, we're talking about your legacy. Wow, that was as subtle as a baseball bat to the head. So, I think that, I think obviously, and I was talking with another friend of mine about this. I think that the future is that we the way they're going to try to propose shows is you're going to have this thing where you're going to introduce something and we're going to see if we can rile up the fans. Like we did it with Strange New Worlds, or maybe they didn't plan on that, but it happened. They set up for it. Now we're doing it with Legacy, and Michael agrees that he definitely wants to see Star Trek Legacy. I want to see Star Trek Legacy. I think there's obviously, given the huge response we're seeing all across the world for it, millions of people want Star Trek Legacy. They want to see the Enterprise G under the command of Captain Seven and Rafi and Jack and Sydney and the rest and some other crew members. My friend Mary and I were talking about all the characters we would love to see come back who were little kids when Voyager and Deep Space Nine were out there. And they're all obviously grown-ups, and we'd like to see, well, where have you been all this time, kids? Get them all together on one big starship, the Enterprise G, and go on some new adventures.
Well, I'd like an update on DS9 characters. I'd like to see a lot of them come back into something. Yeah.
Well, that apparently, according to the IMDb, Call Meany was actually supposed to be in this season of Picard, but I think a lot of people have been talking about this, and I think what's been said is that they had planned to film something, but due to budget constraints, because I know they really strained the bank to rebuild the bridge set when they did. So that might have gotten cut. So it might have been that Call Meany was supposed to show up as Chief O'Brien. Because if you do remember, he started out on Next Generation like Worf and then ended up on DS9.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. Harry, I love Deep Space Nine too. It's just as much. I love it just as much as Next Generation or Voyager or any of the other Star Trek shows. I would love to see them come back. There was the whole thing a couple of years ago about where they talked about what season 8 would have looked like, and sadly, they will have to change it because Aaron and Renee passed away since then. And they would have to write around that. But yeah, I do think if they were to put season 8 together as a mini series, if Avery Brooks could be convinced to come back, I know Nana and Armin, obviously, they were just recently on Lower Decks I think it was the year before or this past season. Yeah, it was this past season they were on. And it would be nice to have the whole cast back, have Armin, have Nana, have Avery, have Sarek, have Michael and Penny and Calm and Alexander and JG, as many of the, and Andrew. I'd love to see what Garrick's been up to all this time, it would be awesome to see him come back too. And I hope that they, excuse me, leave some room for nostalgia for Deep Space Nine.
Sure.
I mean,
I
one of the
think,
characters Mary and I were talking about that would have been awesome. That'd be awesome for Legacy would be Molly O'Brien as chief engineer.
sure,
It'd be nice to,
sure.
Miles and Keiko's daughter.
Yeah, yeah. I
Who
think a big part of the
actually,
problem.
hmm?
I think a big part of the problem is with Paramount Plus, and it's not just Paramount Plus, but all the streaming services.
Yeah.
They are really having to scale back. They, in order to launch, like if you remember back when it was CBS All Access, they spent a lot of money launching and a lot of money on content. And what's happened is they've overextended themselves. The Fed's raising interest rates, so now the debt they have is harder for them to manage. On top of that, you had this bump in subscriber rates because of the pandemic, and now that's dropping off. So there's less coming in. So that's why they are taking what they thought were going to be series and just making them movies, because there's less cash available for them. So I mean, I think if Legacy does happen, it might likely be a movie or a couple of movies rather than a series, because they're being very very cautious about what they invest in for series right now, and that's happening at Disney Plus too. They changed like Armor Wars, which was going to be a series, is now a film. So a lot of this has to do with the economics of it too. I guess that's the point I'm trying to make.
Well, no, I agree. And fire Jerome Powell, everybody. It's all I got to say. But yeah, I am not. I know that the money situation is bad. I mean, we all are going. I mean, I have near panic attacks every time I go into the grocery store now, or when I look at how much it costs to put gas in my car, and that is something I think that is really stressing a lot of people, and it's affecting all of us as far as getting new TV shows out there. Our producer just let me know, allegedly bringing Ultron back for Armor Wars. So, Harry, so could also be that however much, oh God, what's his name from the Blacklist? You know who I'm thinking about. Why am I blanking on Spader? James Spader, because he's the voice.
Okay.
He is Ultron. I mean, they got him to come back for Ultron in the What If animation. He came back for that. So yeah, so I did not know Ultron was coming back, but yeah, hey, look, I'm really excited about that because I thought there were some aspects. I know we're delving into the Avengers now, but there are aspects of Age of Ultron that I did enjoy in the movie. It was not the best Avengers movie, but it was still a fun, it was okay. But the fact that, Spader's coming back and Ultron's coming back for another, would I rather Armor Wars be a miniseries like Miss Marvel or something? Yeah. Would I like to see, I'm holding out hope that Legacy will be a series. It might take a little longer to get out there than we thought, and I mean, like, I know Willow they're saying it isn't canceled, but they've released the actors to do other projects until they decide what they're going to do, because they did not get the ratings they wanted at Disney Plus. But, Rhodey going up against Tony's Legacy. Okay. Yeah, that's another thing from our producer, Brandon, about Armor Wars. But we're going to talk about Marvel on another show. I would love to be part of that because I'm also a Marvel nut too. But we're going to wrap up here on Star Trek, I think, right now, if it's okay. Obviously, of course, Harry, we do talk. Let me just quick plug here. If you are interested in all things Marvel, Star Trek, Star Wars, DC, Doctor Who, Farscape, Red Dwarf, please consider joining the Northern Virginia Star Trek Meetup group at meetup.org. We're a very open-minded group. So, come join us. We go to great places for lunch. We go to good movies. We go to cons together. Harry can attest. I'm a not half bad organizer. So, That's where you're supposed to jump in and say, Josh, you're a great organizer.
Oh, I did. I said that. I said it does a great job. I'm sorry.
Sorry. You
didn't
blanked
hear
out
that.
there for a second. I'm sorry. Okay.
Okay.
My bad. Thank you, Harry. We're making our producer laugh convulsively now.
Okay.
Okay. So what are some other deep dives? We've talked about a future, Deep Space Nine, Legacy. I'm going to throw another one out there, and I'm going to try to pitch this, my own petition writing campaign. A Worf series. Michael Doran has already written, or at least a perspective idea of what it looks like, and he basically described it as Game of Thrones with Klingons, which I'm already there. You kind of had me at Klingons. As everybody knows, I'm a devout Klingon, so yeah, I'm kind of like, yeah.
Well, now, wouldn't that have to be different now that the Worf character has changed, as they showed in season 3 here, and he's now sort of the peaceful warrior? Wouldn't that have to be kind of a different series?
That's sort of the whole point. From what Michael said in an interview, it's picking up from what Ezri Dax said in the episode, Deep Space Nine episode, Tracking into the Wind, where he's talking to Ezri and Quarks about the situation of Gowron trying to micromanage the war and taking authority away from Martok. And Ezri comes right out and says, the Klingon Empire is dying. And I think it deserves to die because the empire that talks about honor, but it's rife with corruption, and even you are willing to tolerate corruption at the highest levels of the government. So unless something really radical changes, it's doomed, and it probably deserves to die. So apparently Michael was sort of building off that idea that Worf somehow gets in charge of the Empire, maybe becomes the new chancellor, and decides that the direction of the Empire needs to change, and that they're going to work more closely with Starfleet and to try to bring about a new age for the Empire, to try to save, if not the Empire, then the Klingon people themselves. And, if you look back at the fever dream of season 2, and during the graduation scene, Picard is standing there, and you look at the array of flags, the Klingon Empire's flag is right there, right behind him. So at this point, does this mean that the Klingon... Well, I mean, we know from the guidebooks that the Klingon Empire in the 24th, early 25th century has a non-voting seat on the Federation Council, but they're not formal members. However, they are recognized as part of the Khitomer Alliance. So, we don't know. Did it evolve into something? Did they join? What's going on? So, yeah, I mean, we could very well see, I'm going to push my own letter writing campaign and say, hey, let's have a Worf series. Let's at least have a mini series. Let's, delve more into this character, or at least have a Worf movie where we explore some of the ideas Michael has talked about, and I would be up for that. I think there are a lot of fans. I mean, given that how much fan pop he got when he showed up in episode 3 of this season, and took out all those Romulan gangsters, that was just awesome. And I think there's a lot of love there for everybody's favorite Klingon. So, I nothing's impossible. The inflation is going, look, guys, inflation will ease. I'm going to get a little, it will ease eventually. We just get through this and we see how things go. And eventually everybody's going to start making stuff again. And
Josh, one thing. I wanted to bring up one thing, because there's a Twitter post to Terry Metalis. One of the fans was asking a question about season 3 and wanted to know, did Jack take his father's last name, making him Jack Picard, after Picard season 3? And Terry Metalis wrote back that Jack remains Jack Crusher. So,
yeah. Well, that's
if
he's been for 23 years. But He could also, they could change that, say his name is Jack Crusher Picard,
Well,
we don't
it
really
seems
know
to be
that.
a big topic on Twitter because a lot of people are thinking he should change his last name to Picard. Some think he should have Jean-Luc as his middle name. It's blowing up. So,
Okay, well, I mean,
I don't
that's
know.
something to look for on a future episode of Star Trek Legacy then, I guess. But in the meantime, I think we're almost to the point where we're ready to bring the Enterprise D back into the space dock for one last time and let her sit in the museum and in her place of honor, situated between the Enterprise A and the Stargazer, if you remember correctly. So, Harry, where can people find you, and what would you like to get some things you wanted to tell us you're up to these days?
Okay, sure. My latest episode of Multiverse Maniac, we're talking about the unfortunate problems of stars of the multiverse. Now it is Jonathan Majors who is having some very big problems, which may really impact down the line his continuing being
Kang the Conqueror.
Kang. It has to do with a woman who has accused him of domestic violence, and now there have been a bunch of other women who've come forward. Currently, his manager and his PR person have dropped him, and that's huge. I mean, one of the most lucrative things you could have as a manager or a PR person is a client with a Marvel contract in their back pocket. So for them to say bye-bye, that's a really tough one. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. And you can find Multiverse of Maniacs on Spotify and most of the places that you get top podcasts, correct?
Mm-hmm. And this week I should have an article coming out on Collider. This is about the 40-plus year collaboration of Bruce Campbell and Sam Raimi. So we're looking at their films together and the evolution of their relationship.
Yeah. And people can find you at 8WHW Wiki on Twitter.
HWILK at Twitter.com.
Great. Okay. Well, and before I sign off and tell you about where you can find me, I just wanted to mention that most of the members of the Movers and Shakers Unlimited team will be in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania next week for Contropolis, running from May 5th through the 7th. Our producer, Mr. Brandon Troy, will be moderating a few panels. So you'll want to come by and say hi to him and, find out what we're doing over here at the Movers and Shakers Unlimited networks and what we got planned going on. You can, of course, reach me at Josh Pritchett Jr. on Facebook or through the Northern Virginia Star Trek Meetup group at meetup.org. If you're interested, if you're living in Northern Virginia or Southern Maryland or the DC area, feel free to join us. We also have a page on Facebook for that. And of course, my book, Bigfoot and Other Tales of the Supernatural, is still available on Amazon and Kindle. And by the time we return, Chris Pavone and I return in June for our review show of Strange New Worlds, I will hopefully be having a new big announcement. So you're going to want to tune in. We might even be offering a few contests that you're going to want to take advantage of. So until next time, Harry, you want to sign off?
Live long and prosper, y'all.
Live long and prosper. Kapla. And we will see you again here soon. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.